Have you ever been in a room full of people? Maybe it's a party, a meeting, or even just a hangout, and you feel like you're vibrating? Not the I'm excited kind of vibrating, but the kind where your chest feels tight, your palms are clammy, and your brain is basically a browser with 50 tabs open, and all of them are playing different music at the same time. Most of the time, we label this social anxiety. We go home, we lay in bed, and we replay every awkward hello like it's a crime scene investigation. We tell ourselves, I'm just broken. I'm socially stunted. I need to fix my brain. But I want to offer you a different perspective. What if your anxiety isn't a glitch? What if it's a signal? Think about a polar bear. If you take a polar bear and drop it in the middle of the Sahara desert, that bear is going to be stressed. It's going to be pacing, panting, and looking generally miserable. Now, would you look at that bear and say, wow, that bear really needs to work on its breathing exercises. It's so neurotic. No, you'd say, get that bear some ice. It's in the wrong place. We do this to ourselves constantly. We force our nervous systems into environments that are fundamentally incompatible with who we are, and then we get mad at our bodies for reacting to the discomfort. If you're a deep, quiet thinker trying to fit into a group that only values loud, surface-level hustle talk, your brain is going to scream. That scream is what you call anxiety, but it might actually just be your internal compass telling you that you're currently north of where you're supposed to be. You aren't a broken person. You might just be a high-fidelity sensor in a very low-quality room. There's this psychological concept called person-environment fit. It sounds fancy, but it basically just means your mental health isn't just a you thing. It's a you plus where you are thing. Think about your phone for a second. If you're in an area with a perfect 5G signal, your battery lasts all day. But if you're out in the woods with 1 bar of service, your phone gets hot and the battery dies in 2 hours. Why? Because it's working 10 times harder just to stay connected. That's exactly what's happening to you when you're in the wrong crowd. When you're with people who don't get you, you start masking. You're editing your thoughts before you speak. You're checking your facial expressions in your head. You're laughing at jokes that aren't actually funny because you don't want to be the weird one. That performance is what's draining your battery.
I used to have this group of friends, let's call them the adrenaline junkies. Every weekend was something intense. If we weren't jumping off something or screaming at a sports game, we weren't living. I spent 3 years trying to be that guy. I'd show up, heart racing, feeling like a total fraud. I thought I had a generalized anxiety disorder. But then I spent a weekend with a couple of people who just wanted to sit around, drink coffee, and talk about why the ending of that one movie was actually genius. The anxiety, it just vanished. I wasn't socially anxious, I was just tired of pretending to be someone who likes skydiving. The wrong crowd isn't always full of bad people. They could be the nicest people on earth. But if their frequency is 101.5 and yours is 88.9, all you're ever going to hear is static. And living in static is enough to make anyone want to crawl out of their own skin. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so I'm in the wrong room. Why does it have to feel like a life or death emergency? Well, we have to look at your brain's hardware. Evolutionarily speaking, being part of a tribe wasn't just about having people to hang out with on a Friday night. It was your literal life insurance policy. 10,000 years ago, if the tribe didn't like you, you got kicked out. And if you got kicked out, you were basically a snack for the first saber-toothed tiger that walked by. Because of that, our brains developed a hypersensitive mismatch alarm. The second you feel like you aren't clicking with the people around you, your brain doesn't just go, oh, we're a bit different. It goes into full-blown code red. It screams, danger, they don't like us, we are going to die alone in the cold. That's the anxiety you're feeling. It's an ancient survival mechanism firing off in a modern world where not fitting in usually just means you have to find a different table at the food court. The problem is we've been told we should be able to get along with everyone. We think if we don't vibe with a certain group, it's a failure. But honestly, most people aren't your people, and trying to force yourself to fit in with them is like trying to plug a USB-C cable into a toaster. It's just not going to work, and you might cause a fire. I have a friend who's a brilliant artist, incredibly talented, but she spent years working in a high-pressure corporate law firm. She was constantly on edge, convinced she was bad at life. She wasn't bad at life. She was just an artist surrounded by people who spoke billable hours. The moment she changed her tribe, her disorder turned back into a personality. She didn't need therapy to fix her anxiety. She just needed to stop hanging out with people who made her feel like a weirdo for wanting to paint on her lunch break.
So, how do you actually tell the difference between I have social anxiety and I'm just in the wrong room? Because let's be real, sometimes you're just nervous. But there's a very specific litmus test you can use. Think about the last time you hung out with your current crowd. When you got home and closed the front door, did you feel like you needed to sleep for 3 days? Or did you feel like you just had a mental car wash? If you spend the whole drive home reviewing everything you said, wondering if you sounded stupid or if they noticed that weird thing you did with your hands, that's your sign. You weren't connecting, you were performing. And performing is an exhausting full-time job that doesn't pay anything. Finding your crowd is like finding the right pair of shoes. If you're a size 10 and you're trying to squeeze into a size 7 because all the cool kids are wearing them, your feet are going to hurt. You can't mindset your way out of that pain. You can't do yoga until your feet shrink. You just need a bigger shoe. The right people don't necessarily make the anxiety of life go away. Work is still stressful and the world is still chaotic, but they make the social anxiety evaporate. When you're with the right crowd, you don't have to think about where to put your hands. You don't have to pre-screen your jokes. You just exist. It's the difference between swimming upstream against a current of judgment and just floating. If you feel like you're constantly fighting to be understood, you're in the wrong water. I once joined a book club thinking it'd be my scene. Turns out they didn't actually want to talk about books, they just wanted to gossip about people I didn't know. I sat there for 2 hours feeling like an alien. I left thinking I was boring. A week later, I found a group of people arguing over whether a hot dog is a sandwich, and I've never felt more at home. Stop trying to be a better version of someone else. That's like trying to fix a leaky faucet by turning the water pressure up. It's just gonna get messy. Here's the big secret that nobody tells you. You are allowed to leave the room. You really are. You're allowed to realize that a group of people, a workplace, or even a family dynamic just isn't for you. You aren't socially stunted just because you don't vibe with people who make you feel invisible. The goal of life isn't to become a person who can handle any crowd without breaking a sweat. The goal is to build a life where you don't have to. When you finally find the people who speak your language, you'll realize that all those years you spent thinking you had an anxiety disorder, you actually just had a wrong environment disorder. You're not a broken person, you're just a specific kind of plant that needs a specific kind of soil to grow in. You can't blame a cactus for wilting in the rainforest, right? So, next time you feel that familiar sting of anxiety, the racing heart, the foggy brain, the urge to hide in the bathroom, take a second and look around. Don't ask, what's wrong with me? Instead ask, is this my garden? If the answer is no, start walking. Don't run, just walk. Your people are out there. They're the ones who will laugh at your weirdest jokes, listen to your long rants about history, and make you feel like fitting in is the most boring thing you could ever do. They're probably wondering where you are right now. Stop trying to be a better version of someone else. Be a better version of you in a room that actually likes the way you're built. Trust me, the air is a lot easier to breathe once you step out of the static and into the light.